There's a lot of things you don't need to know how they work, just work them. A lot of people are studying the roots, others are gathering the fruit. I mean, it depends on what end of this you want to get in on. It just works. It's a fascinating subject, the law of average, okay? Now, once you know that your ratio pretty well is in there, 1 out of 10, now you can start to compete. It is so important to compete, to test your skill against someone else's skill. What someone else can do is a pretty good insight in if you stretch what you might be able to do. So competition is a very healthy thing. Now, you've got to be very smart here. If you've been with this company, let's say, a long time, and you've been there so long, you're so good, you can get 9 out of 10, and I just joined, and I can only get 1 out of 10. If we have a 30-day contest as to who can get the most to say yes to our product or service, if we have a 30-day contest, you and me, even though I can only get 1 out of 10, I will win. You say, well, I've been here a long time, I can get 9 out of 10. How could you possibly beat me? It would be very simple. Now, it might not be easy, but it would be very simple. During the 30 days, since I understand now these ratios, during the month, while you talk to 10 and get 9, I will talk to 100 and get 10. So that at the end of 30 days, you got 9, I got 10, I beat you. Isn't that clever? Let me give you a scenario here. If you're bright, what you do if you're new, you make up in numbers what you lack in skill. This is called helping people with the numbers, helping people with ratio. Someone says, well, I can only get 1 out of 10. Say, that's got nothing to do with competition. Now, after 30 days, I may be fairly exhausted. But see, I'm pretty good for a 30-day run. One is I don't sleep much for 30 days. About 4 hours sleep is all I need for 30 days. Now, I got to back off after 30 days, I'll admit that. But for 30 days, I can go on 4 hours sleep. Now, see, it's hard to beat somebody that won't sleep. How are you gonna beat somebody? About 1 hour a day for nutrition. That's all I need. 1 meal a day, 1 hour a day for nutrition. In 30 days, how are you going to beat somebody that won't eat? Won't eat, won't sleep. The answer is, it's hard. It's hard, even if they're new. But if the new person is so clever to make up in numbers what they first lack in skill, I'm telling you, you can compete even though you're new. The key is to be bright enough to understand ratio. Here's the next clue. Ratios can be increased. You talk to 10, get 1, talk to 10, get 1, talk to 10, get 1, talk to 10 more, get 2. Why would about the 4th time you talk to 10, you get 2 instead of 1? You're getting better. Key question, who can get better? Answer, anybody who tries. All you got to do is put together the numbers, right? Your brain is as good as anybody else's. Your chances are as good. All you got to do is find a way to put out the extraordinary effort to do an ordinary thing extremely well. Ratio. Success is a numbers game. It's important to keep track of your numbers. In baseball, we call it batting average. Whatever you're doing, the key is to keep track of your success and how good you are at whatever. Someone says, well, I'm not very good on the telephone. I'll tell you how you can quickly cure all that, is get on the telephone. I'm telling you, you can get better at anything. All you've got to do is attempt it and try it and start putting a string of numbers together and keeping track and understand your own ratio. I teach a very simple sales course. Let me give it to you in 3 points. Number 1, talk to lots of people every day. It's a simple sales course. Number 1, talk to lots of people. Isn't that simple? It's a numbers game, especially if you're new. And here's what's exciting. There's lots of people. You don't have to worry about people, so just talk to lots of people, even if your presentation is very poor. If you put the numbers together, I'm telling you, something will happen. If your presentation was so poor, you went around every day saying to everybody you could meet, you wouldn't want to buy anything, would you? Sure enough, somebody's going to say, well, maybe I would. What are you selling? I'm telling you, it's just about that simple. If you put the numbers together, if you talk to lots of people every day, 2 things will happen. Number 1, you're bound to make sales. I'm telling you, some people buy for the strangest reasons. Hey, some people buy out of sympathy for the salesperson. I'm telling you, you can find some people that'll buy out of sympathy. They don't want to see your kids starve. I'm telling you, if you'll talk to enough people, some people will buy out of sympathy. So part of success is, look pitiful to enough people, right? I'm telling you, somebody will buy. And why? It's because of ratios. It's because of numbers. Now, you can have a much better presentation than you wouldn't want to buy anything, would you? You can get a little brighter than that. But if you start just that simple, it's simple. Someone says, where do you start? Anywhere. It doesn't matter. If you're in sales, walk outside, find you a rock, throw it up in the air. Wherever the rock comes down, start right there. That's a good place to start. Anywhere. The next person you see, say, sir, you're the first man after the rock. And that'll get a conversation started. I'm telling you. They may back up while they talk, but something will start. And the reason is understanding the numbers. You don't have to be so cleverly skillful. All you got to do is be bright enough to understand that numbers can make up for lack of skill to begin with. And if you're in a leadership position to help people, help them with their ratios. Say, John, let's go over these numbers one more time. How many calls? Who did you talk to? So that's my sales form. It's very simple. Number one, talk to lots of people every day. You're bound to get better. You're bound to find somebody. Number two, be real nice when the weather isn't. Be real nice when people aren't. Big part of presentation is attitude, personality. And third is simple. Give good service. Write all the notes most people don't write. Do all the extra things most people don't do. Call them before they call you. Service leads to multiple sales. If you'll take good care of somebody, they'll open doors you could never open yourself. They'll take you by the hand and share you with people that you never thought you could reach. Service leads to the multiple. That's a simple sales course. My parents made sure by the time I was about 19, I was a pretty good scholar, but I'm still an amateur. But there's a unique story in the Bible. It's called the parable or the story of the sower. S-O-W-E-R. The sower in the ancient days was the person that planted the crops. Very simply. They got the ground ready, and the sower with a bag of seed would walk across the ground, sow the seed. That's how they got the crops going. And it's a very fascinating story, and it's got a lot to say, and it's got a lot to say about our subject called the law of averages. There's some important points you'll pick up right away when you read the story. Here's number one. The sower was a wise man. A great advantage. Right? They didn't send a dummy out to plant. Number two, he was very ambitious. And by the time you finish the story, you'll come to the conclusion he was ambitious. Admirable quality. Ambition. Now that has to be tempered. One writer said, I've learned to be both ambitious and content. That's a unique place to finally arrive. To be both ambitious and content. This story says the sower was very ambitious. Nothing wrong with ambition, as long as you work the right formula. The Bible probably gives the greatest formula for wealth and power. It says, be faithful over small amounts and we'll make you ruler over much. Good philosophy, which teaches us, number one, I think it's okay to wish to be a ruler. Nothing wrong with that. Here's how you become a ruler. Good stewardship when the amounts are small. The guy says, oh, if I had a fortune, I'd take good care of it, but I've just got a paycheck, so I don't know where it goes. I say, no. When we really check your faithfulness is when the amounts are small. I said to Mr. Schoaf when I met him at age 25, I said, you know, if I had more money, I'd have a better plan. He said, Mr. Rohn, I would suggest to you if you had a better plan, you'd have more money. It's not the amount that counts. It's the philosophy that executes your plan that counts. If a child has $1, what should he do with it? It's very important. It's going to determine the rest of his life, what he does with $1. You say, well, it's just a child and it's just $1. We call that massive errors in judgment. It's only a child and it's only $1. What a colossal mistake to make in analyzing. If a child is allowed to spend the whole $1 and they don't have the sense of where that could take them, we call that the greatest disservice to a child. Not to explain to them the journey and the road you select when you spend the whole $1. So if a child wants to spend the whole $1, you say, no, you can't spend the whole $1. Child says, why not? Say, well, let me show you why not. And you take him to the other side of town and say, would you like to live here? Here's where the people live that spend all they make. Here's where they live. There's nothing better than visual to illustrate to a child. Show them the tragic circumstances. If you spend all you make, if you spend all you've got, and kids will come home with their big wide eyes. Say, would you like to live here? Would you like to live like this? Kid says, no, I wouldn't want to live here. Then you can't spend the whole $1. Okay, back to my story. The sower was bright and he was also ambitious. Number three, he went to work. It takes activity to furnish the labor that brings new life. Ideas without labor are stillborn. They never become tangible. They never become real. You got to put yourself through the activity, through the labor. So when you read the story, you'll find this was a hard-working sower. We call that admirable quality. Now, some interesting things that happened to the sower. It said he had excellent seed, point 4. He had the best. At least the scenario of the story says he had the best of seed. Boy, it's exciting when you feel that you're involved in the best product, the best service, the best idea, the best enterprise, something you feel proud about. Okay. But that's important, to have what you consider the best. Now, with all of these qualities, he starts out and now starts to unfold the scenario of life called the law of averages.